the world begins to soften at the edges. The glow of screens fades into a distant hum, and somewhere beyond the noise of thought, a gentle rhythm begins to rise and fall, the quiet pulse of your breathing. You feel it in your chest, that steady tide drawing you inward. This is the beginning of sleep, the ancient and universal passage that every mind must cross. For a moment, you hover between wakefulness and surrender. Thoughts still flicker like faint stars in a darkening sky. Your body loosens, your senses quiet, and the boundaries between you and the world begin to dissolve. It's strange, isn't it? Every night we die a little, disappearing into the soft gravity of unconsciousness, and yet, every morning, we return. But what really happens when the mind lets go? What does it mean to drift into a place where awareness fades, but the brain remains alive, electric, organized, and dreaming? Science tells us that sleep is not an absence of activity, but a symphony of transformation. The brain, once busy passing the outer world, turns inward. Electrical waves slow, synchronize, and change shape. Alpha rhythms give way to theta, then delta. Slow, deep, rolling tides of neural silence punctuated by flashes of mysterious light. This descent is guided by structures buried deep within your brain, the hypothalamus, the thalamus, the pineal gland, each one playing its part in the choreography of sleep. The hypothalamus releases chemical whispers that dim the lights of consciousness. Melatonin seeps into the bloodstream, lowering the body's temperature, syncing it to the rhythm of night. The thalamus, once a gatekeeper of sensory input, begins to close its doors. Sounds fade, touch dulls, the world recedes, but the brain itself remains awake, in its own way. Billions of neurons continue to communicate, not in the language of perception, but in patterns of maintenance and memory. The body begins its nightly repair. Muscles rebuild, cells divide, toxins clear. Even as your mind dissolves, your biology hums with purpose. Evolution has made sleep a requirement of life. Every animal, from the smallest insect to the largest whale, must surrender to it. And yet, it remains one of the great mysteries of science. Why does consciousness shut down at all? Why not remain forever awake, aware, alive? As you drift deeper, something subtle begins to happen. The logical chatter of the frontal cortex quiets. The analytical mind, so dominant in the daylight, gives way to something more primitive and more ancient. The limbic system, the seat of emotion, begins to stir. The boundaries between thought and feeling blur. Images rise unbidden, half-formed and strange. These are the first whispers of the dream world. Psychologists call this the hypnagogic state, the threshold between waking and sleeping. It's a place where the mind becomes fluid, where fragments of memory and imagination mingle freely, producing fleeting visions and sensations that fade as quickly as they appear. You might see faces, landscapes, impossible shapes. You might feel yourself falling, floating, or dissolving into light. This is the brain's rehearsal for dreaming, its first step into a deeper landscape of consciousness. Neuroscientists studying this moment have found something extraordinary. Even as awareness fades, certain parts of the brain remain astonishingly active. The visual cortex may flicker with imagery. The emotional centers may surge with energy. It's as if the mind, deprived of external input, turns its creative power inward, projecting entire worlds from memory and imagination. And in this way, each night, you become both the dreamer and the architect, the observer and the universe itself. As the descent continues, the brain passes through distinct stages. First comes light sleep, stage 1 and 2, where the heartbeat slows, the muscles relax, and brainwaves begin to oscillate in spindles of rhythm. Then, gradually, the body sinks into the deep, restorative realm of slow-wave sleep. Here, consciousness disappears almost completely. The brain's electrical activity becomes synchronized, pulsing in great, slow waves, like the ocean breathing in its sleep. This is the stage where healing occurs, where the body releases growth hormones, repairs tissue, consolidates energy. To an outside observer, it appears as though you vanished, still, quiet, motionless, but within, an entire universe of restoration unfolds. What's fascinating is how fragile this process is. The modern world, with its artificial lights and restless noise, constantly intrudes on the natural rhythm that evolution designed over millions of years. Blue light from screens tells the brain it's still daytime. Stress floods the system with cortisol, the hormone of alertness. The natural cycles of melatonin are disrupted, and when sleep falters, the effects ripple through every aspect of mind and body: emotion, memory, immune function, creativity. It's as though consciousness, deprived of its nightly retreat, begins to fray at the edges. But beyond the biology, there's something more poetic, something deeply human about this daily surrender. In sleep, we are all equal. Presidents and poets, children and wanderers. All must lay down their sense of self and step into the unknown. Each night, the narrative of who we are dissolves. The I disappears, replaced by pure experience, untethered from logic or identity. It's a kind of death, but also a renewal. When we wake, we reconstruct the story, piecing together fragments of memory to reassemble the illusion of self. Philosophers and psychologists have long been captivated by this paradox. If consciousness defines our existence, the light through which all experience shines, then what happens when that light dims? Is the self suspended, or does it continue in some hidden form? Modern neuroscience suggests that consciousness is not a single phenomenon but a spectrum, a dynamic interplay of attention, memory, and awareness. During sleep, certain aspects shut down, others persist. Even in our deepest rest, the brain maintains a watchful sentinel, the reticular activating system, a network that can awaken us instantly at a sound, a touch, a threat. So while the conscious mind sleeps, a quieter intelligence remains, guarding the fragile boundary between life and oblivion. And yet, the mystery deepens when we consider what happens in dreams. For within the theater of sleep, awareness returns in strange, fragmented ways. We see, we feel, we live entire lifetimes in moments. The dream world becomes a reflection of consciousness itself, fluid, self-generating, free from the constraints of physics and time. Some neuroscientists call it virtual reality built by the brain. Others see it as the mind's way of processing emotion, solving problems, or rehearsing reality. But for philosophers and mystics, dreams have always pointed to something deeper, the idea that reality itself may not be as solid as it seems. In ancient traditions, sleep was seen as a gateway between worlds, a bridge between the seen and unseen. In Greek mythology, Hypnos, the god of sleep, was twin brother to Thanatos, the god of death. To sleep was to visit the realm of shadows, to touch the infinite and return. Even today, in the language of psychology and quantum theory, echoes of that metaphor remain. Sleep reveals that consciousness is not bound by waking experience alone. It stretches across multiple states, each as real, each as mysterious as the next. And as you listen, you can almost feel it, that slow drift inward, the gentle letting go. The heartbeat slows, the breath deepens. The world fades into a soft, infinite distance. The narrator's voice, your own mind, and the silence between each word begin to blur together. You are no longer merely hearing, you are experiencing the descent itself. The border between sound and thought, between the story and your own inner landscape, begins to dissolve. You become the story, you become the stillness. Science, for all its precision, can only describe part of this experience. It can measure brainwaves, chart hormones, track cycles of REM and NREM. It can show us the flicker of neurons in the visual cortex when we dream. But it cannot yet explain why this transition feels so profound, why closing one's eyes and surrendering to the unknown feels like returning to something ancient and familiar. Perhaps it's because, in sleep, we touch the essence of being, the part of us that exists before thought, before memory, before time itself. A return to the quiet foundation from which consciousness arises. And as we sink further into this exploration, one question lingers, shimmering in the dark: if sleep is the mirror of consciousness, if in losing awareness we somehow renew it, then what does that say about the true nature of being awake? Perhaps wakefulness and sleep are not opposites, but partners in an endless dance, each shaping the other, each revealing what the other conceals. And as the curtain of night falls gently around us, we begin to understand that the journey into sleep is not an escape from consciousness, but a journey through its hidden layers. As you drift further into sleep, you enter a world that is both familiar and impossible. Vivid, yet intangible. Dreams arise like slow-moving tapestries, woven from threads of memory, emotion, and imagination. They are not random flashes of the mind as once believed, but intricate constructions, elaborate architectures, built by your own consciousness while your body rests. In this hidden realm, time bends, space distorts, and the ordinary rules of reality dissolve. You might walk through endless hallways, float above oceans, or converse with people you've never met. Every dream is a delicate structure, a palace of the mind assembled from fragments collected during your waking hours. And though we may forget them upon waking, the brain records them, integrates them, and even learns from them, reshaping how we think and feel. Neuroscience has shown that dreams emerge most vividly during REM sleep, rapid eye movement, a stage that occurs in cycles through the night. During REM, the brain becomes highly active, almost as active as it is when we are awake. Yet the body remains paralyzed, a protective mechanism to prevent the enactment of dreams. The eyes flicker beneath closed lids, following invisible horizons, and the brain's emotional centers ignite with intensity. The amygdala, the seat of fear and desire, pulses with life. The hippocampus, our memory center, weaves old experiences into new narratives. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for logic and reason, is quiet, allowing dreams to flow unconstrained by judgment or the rules of reality. It is this delicate balance that creates the surreal yet meaningful world of dreams, a theater of the mind where imagination is king, unbound by the waking world. Dreams are not merely a side effect of sleep, they serve profound functions. Psychologists suggest that they help process emotions, integrate memories, and even rehearse challenges we may face in life. Night after night, the brain constructs simulations of experience, some mundane, some fantastical, all working to organize the chaos of consciousness. It is as if the mind, while resting, continues to practice being alive, refining its responses, testing its fears, and exploring possibilities. Sometimes dreams confront us with our deepest anxieties, forcing us to face ourselves in ways we rarely do while awake. At other times, they lift us into realms of wonder and beauty, inspiring creativity and insight that resonates in the hours after we wake. The dream is both teacher and mirror, a private world where consciousness experiments with itself. There is a symmetry in the architecture of dreams, an invisible scaffolding that the brain imposes to hold them together. Studies using neuroimaging have revealed that specific patterns of neural activity correspond to particular types of dream experiences. Visual regions light up when we see, auditory regions when we hear, and areas associated with movement even activate when we imagine running or flying. Every detail, from the shape of a tree to the tone of a voice, is orchestrated by networks of neurons working in harmony, constructing an immersive environment that feels real while simultaneously existing entirely within the mind. It is a remarkable demonstration of the brain's ability to create reality without any external input, a reminder that consciousness is not confined to perception, but actively generates it. Dreams also interact with memory in fascinating ways. The hippocampus, which stores episodic memories, plays a central role in the dreaming process. It selects fragments of experience, a face glimpsed on the street, the echo of a conversation, the scent of rain on the pavement, and threads them together into coherent or surreal narratives. This process allows the mind to consolidate learning, strengthen neural connections, and even problem solve. Many of history's great discoveries, from the structure of the benzene molecule to mathematical insights, are said to have emerged from dreams, as if the mind, liberated from waking constraints, can perceive patterns and possibilities otherwise invisible. Dreams, in this sense, are not merely a byproduct of sleep. They are laboratories of consciousness, laboratories where imagination and memory meet to explore the endless frontier of the mind. Yet dreams are not uniform. They vary widely depending on emotional state, personal history, and biological rhythms. Nightmares, the dark twin of dreams, arise when the brain's threat detection systems dominate the landscape, often reflecting unresolved fears or anxieties. Lucid dreams, in which the dreamer becomes aware of dreaming, reveal another layer of consciousness, a self-reflective capacity that can be trained and explored. And some dreams defy categorization entirely, ephemeral experiences that leave only a lingering emotional resonance upon waking. This variability reminds us that consciousness is not a single static state, but a dynamic spectrum, capable of manifesting in countless forms, each as profound and mysterious as the next. From a scientific perspective, dreams challenge our understanding of reality itself. If our brains can construct fully immersive experiences that feel real while asleep, what does this imply about the nature of perception? Every waking moment, our senses interpret signals from the external world, constructing a coherent experience that we call reality. Dreams suggest that the brain has the intrinsic ability to create this coherence, even in the absence of sensory input. Consciousness, it seems, is not simply a passive observer of the world, but an active creator, constantly weaving patterns from raw information, whether external or internal. In this light, sleep is not an escape from reality, but a deeper exploration of it, a reminder that the mind is far more powerful and imaginative than we often realize. There is also a poetic dimension to dreams, a rhythm and flow that echoes the music of life itself. In REM sleep, the brain oscillates with a distinctive pattern, producing waves that are both chaotic and organized, a paradoxical harmony that mirrors the structure of the dream world. This neural music guides the mind through surreal landscapes, shifting scenes, and emotional peaks and valleys, creating a narrative that feels coherent even when it is impossible. In this way, dreams can be understood as both a psychological phenomenon and a kind of internal art form, a medium through which the mind expresses itself beyond the constraints of waking language and logic. As you sink further into the dream state, the boundary between self and environment becomes permeable. You may find yourself observing your own thoughts as if from outside, experiencing sensations without attachment, or blending with elements of the dream itself. This fluidity is a hallmark of consciousness in sleep, a state where identity is both present and absent, where the observer and the observed merge. It is a gentle reminder that who we are is not fixed, but a process, a story told by networks of neurons, emotions, and memory. In dreams, this story can be rewritten endlessly, offering glimpses into the infinite potential of the mind. The architecture of dreams, therefore, is both structural and ephemeral. It is built from the concrete elements of memory, emotion, and neural activity, yet it remains fluid, elusive, and ever-changing. Every dream is unique, a temporary palace erected in the mind, experienced fully in the moment and then dissolved into the quiet river of sleep. And within this process, there is profound beauty. For dreams remind us that consciousness is not confined to waking hours, that the mind is capable of worlds within worlds, that sleep is not merely a state of rest, but a portal to imagination, understanding, and insight. And so, as you drift deeper into this nocturnal architecture, you become both observer and participant. You move through corridors built from memory, soar across landscapes painted by imagination, and encounter fragments of yourself reflected in strange and unexpected ways. Sleep transforms into a journey through consciousness itself, a voyage guided by the invisible hand of the brain, the delicate balance of chemistry and electricity, emotion and intuition. In this place, the mind is both free and disciplined, wild and orderly, intimate and infinite. It is here that we begin to glimpse the profound mystery of what it means to be aware, even as we surrender completely to the quiet, restorative embrace of sleep. As you drift deeper into the embrace of sleep, your body and mind are engaged in a silent, intricate dance, guided by forces both ancient and precise. Night is not a pause in consciousness, but a symphony of biological rhythms, orchestrated by systems that have evolved over millions of years. The brain, ever vigilant, continues to hum with life even as the world outside fades. Within its depths, countless neurons fire in patterns that are invisible yet essential, weaving together the experience of rest, repair, and renewal. To understand this nighttime landscape is to glimpse the hidden architecture of consciousness itself, the delicate mechanisms that allow awareness to fade without ever truly disappearing. Central to this orchestration is the circadian rhythm, the body's internal clock, ticking in harmony with the cycles of light and dark. Deep within the hypothalamus lies a cluster of cells known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a tiny conductor that interprets the subtle signals of day and night. Light entering through the eyes is transformed into electrical impulses, informing the brain whether it is time to awaken or to rest. As evening descends, the body begins its preparation for sleep. Melatonin, the hormone of darkness, is released, gently lowering the body's temperature, slowing the heartbeat, and nudging the mind towards surrender. It is a subtle, precise signal, a whisper from evolution, reminding the body to step into the nocturnal rhythm. Alongside this internal clock, the brain employs a delicate balance of chemicals that guide consciousness from wakefulness into the deep, restorative states of sleep. Neurotransmitters such as gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA, act as molecular brakes, dampening neural activity, quieting thought, and allowing the body to relax. Adenosine accumulates throughout the day, a signal of energy expenditure, pressing the body toward rest. When we finally close our eyes, these chemical messengers converge, gently dissolving the barriers that separate wakefulness from sleep. It is a process both precise and mysterious, as if the brain itself knows exactly when and how to release consciousness into the night. Sleep unfolds in cycles, each one a carefully choreographed journey through different stages. The first is light sleep, a threshold where the mind lingers between awareness and surrender. Muscles relax, the heartbeat slows, and the mind begins to drift, still tethered to fragments of the waking world. As the night deepens, the brain moves into slow-wave sleep, a realm of restorative calm. Here, neural activity slows to rhythmic, synchronized pulses, a lullaby sung by the millions of neurons that shape your experience of being. In this state, the body heals, cells regenerate, toxins are cleared from the brain, and energy is restored. It is the stage where the body is renewed, even as consciousness recedes into a shadowed, tranquil place. Within this nocturnal architecture, REM sleep emerges like a sudden burst of light, a paradoxical awakening within slumber. Rapid eye movements flicker beneath closed lids, signaling a resurgence of neural activity. The brain becomes highly active, almost as if it has returned to the waking state, yet the body remains immobile, paralyzed to prevent the enactment of dreams. During REM, the emotional centers of the brain, including the amygdala, pulse with intensity. The hippocampus and prefrontal cortex weave memory and imagination into intricate narratives. It is here that dreams bloom in full color, where consciousness is partially restored in a form that defies logic and reason, a world entirely constructed from the brain's internal landscape. Neuroscientists studying the sleeping brain have uncovered astonishing patterns. Functional MRI scans reveal that regions associated with visual perception light up during dreams, even without any external input. Auditory regions respond when we hear imagined sounds, and areas linked to motion activate when we run, fly, or swim in dreamscapes. The mind, even in rest, rehearses reality, constructing simulations that feel tangible and coherent. Dreams, it seems, are not mere illusions, but expressions of the brain's capacity for creation, a rehearsal space for consciousness, a laboratory where experience and memory merge to produce meaning. Beyond dreams, sleep is also a guardian of memory and learning. During the night, the brain reviews and consolidates experiences gathered while awake. Neural circuits strengthened by repeated activity are reinforced, while unnecessary connections are pruned. This is how we learn, adapt, and retain the skills that define our waking life. Sleep is not passive. It is an active participant in shaping the mind, quietly refining our understanding of the world, processing emotions, and integrating knowledge. Without this nightly labor, consciousness would become fragmented, unable to organize the chaos of experience into coherent understanding. The interplay between the body and brain during sleep is equally remarkable. The autonomic nervous system shifts from sympathetic dominance, the state of fight or flight, to parasympathetic calm, slowing the heart, relaxing muscles, and lowering blood pressure. Breathing deepens, flowing in steady, rhythmic patterns. Hormones such as growth hormone surge, facilitating tissue repair and regeneration. The immune system strengthens, producing cells that protect against infection and inflammation. Sleep is a nightly miracle, a coordinated effort of countless systems working in harmony, ensuring survival while consciousness drifts into mystery. Sleep is also sensitive to the subtle environment around us. Sounds, temperature, and even social context can influence its quality. The brain maintains a quiet vigilance, a sentinel that monitors for threats, ready to awaken at a whisper of danger. Yet this awareness is finely tuned. It does not disturb the restorative processes unless absolutely necessary. Evolution has sculpted sleep to balance vulnerability with survival, allowing the body to rest deeply while remaining responsive to the world. The neuroscience of night also reveals a profound truth about consciousness itself. Even when awareness fades, it is not extinguished. It persists in layers, moving through stages, shifting focus, and transforming in nature. Sleep demonstrates that consciousness is not a monolithic state, but a spectrum, flexible, dynamic, and deeply intertwined with biology. In every cycle of slumber, we experience this spectrum, moving from light awareness to deep unconsciousness, and back again, a nightly reminder that the mind is more than its waking form. And there is beauty in this precision. The slow waves, the flickering REM bursts, the chemical orchestration, the neural symphony. It is as if the brain has learned to sing while resting, to create while dissolving, to sustain life while letting consciousness drift. As you lie in quiet darkness, your body and mind perform this delicate ballet, invisible yet essential, shaping who you are, who you will become, and how you experience the world. Every heartbeat, every breath, every flicker of a neuron contributes to the invisible architecture of your night, guiding you through a landscape both internal and eternal. Finally, consider the meditative quality of this science. Understanding the mechanisms of sleep is not just an exercise in biology. It is an invitation to marvel at the complexity of being. As you sink into the night, the brain, chemistry, and body converge in perfect harmony, allowing consciousness to rest, to dream, and to renew. To know this is to witness the intimate relationship between life and awareness, between mystery and structure, between the seen and the unseen. Sleep is not merely rest, it is a journey through the hidden layers of consciousness, a nightly odyssey where science and experience converge, guiding us gently into the unknown and allowing us to emerge renewed, transformed, and awake. The night deepens. Outside, the world grows still, but within you, the story of consciousness continues to unfold. Sleep does not silence the mind, it transforms it. Beneath the surface of rest, awareness shifts, bending and folding into new dimensions. The conscious self, so dominant in daylight, begins to dissolve, replaced by something quieter, more fluid, and profoundly mysterious. It is here, in this delicate borderland between awareness and oblivion, that the mind reveals its most intimate secrets. When we are awake, consciousness feels solid and continuous. We see, we think, we decide. Each moment seems connected to the next, like a river flowing through time. But in sleep, that continuity fractures. The narrative pauses, the sense of I begins to blur, and what remains is pure experience, unanchored by logic or self-reflection. Solution is not loss but renewal. In surrendering identity, the mind finds rest. The conscious self, burdened by constant interpretation and control, finally releases its grip. It is a kind of homecoming, a return to simplicity, to being without the need to define. Modern neuroscience has revealed that even in this state, consciousness does not vanish. It changes form, brain activity during sleep reveals that networks associated with self-awareness, the so-called default mode network, slow but do not cease. Instead, they reorganize. The brain continues to generate patterns, but their focus shifts inward. Instead of responding to the outer world, the mind turns to its own internal landscape. Thoughts transform into symbols, emotions into imagery, and memory becomes dream. In this way, the sleeping brain mirrors meditation, a descent from surface-level awareness into the quiet depths of the subconscious. Psychologists call this a state of altered consciousness, not unconsciousness, but a different configuration of the same fundamental awareness. In meditation, as in sleep, the boundaries of self soften. The internal dialogue fades, and the mind becomes spacious, open. Sleep is the natural form of this surrender, an effortless version of what monks and mystics spend lifetimes cultivating. Both offer escape from the tyranny of thought. Both reveal that awareness exists even when the self does not. To rest deeply is to experience consciousness in its purest, simplest form, silent, unburdened, infinite. The conscious mind at rest is not idle. It listens, learns, and repairs. During sleep, emotional memories are processed, stress responses recalibrated, and psychological balance restored. The amygdala, which governs fear and anxiety, quiets. The prefrontal cortex, the center of rational control, takes a step back. This shift allows the emotional brain to integrate the unresolved tensions of the day. What was sharp becomes soft. What was overwhelming becomes manageable. It is as though the psyche itself breathes, expanding and contracting with every night, releasing what no longer serves, making room for clarity to emerge. This nightly restoration explains why sleep deprivation distorts the mind so deeply. Without rest, emotions grow volatile, reasoning falters, and empathy fades. The conscious mind becomes brittle, unable to sustain balance. Sleep is the hidden foundation of sanity, the nightly cleansing that keeps awareness whole. And yet, most of us pass through it unaware, taking for granted the delicate miracle of this restoration. If you could observe the brain in its resting consciousness, you would see patterns of oscillation that resemble music, waves, rising and falling, harmonizing in intricate frequencies. Slow delta rhythms dominate deep sleep, washing through the cortex like tides. In REM, the waves quicken, dancing between memory and imagination. This symphony of electrical activity mirrors the mind's internal rhythm, the silent song of consciousness resting and renewing itself. Neuroscientists call this the neural orchestra of night. Mystics, in their own language, have always called it the soul's renewal. What is most profound about this process is how little effort it requires. Sleep comes naturally, as if consciousness itself longs for dissolution. Perhaps it is a memory, encoded deep within us, a remembrance of a time before individuality, when awareness was not confined to thought, when being was enough. To rest deeply is to touch that primordial stillness again. The conscious mind lets go of the need to act, to define, to know. It simply exists, surrounded by the dark, infinite comfort of being. As the body sleeps, fragments of waking consciousness sometimes remain, brief flashes of awareness that punctuate the void. These are moments when the mind seems to awaken within its own rest. You might hear your name in a dream, or sense that you are dreaming while still asleep. These flickers are glimpses of the layered nature of awareness, a reminder that consciousness never fully disappears, only shifts shape. Even when submerged, it listens. Even when dissolved, it remains whole. The resting mind also reveals the deep relationship between body and consciousness. The brain is not an isolated organ. It is woven into the rhythms of the body, each heartbeat and breath echoing through neural circuits. During sleep, this unity becomes even more pronounced. Heart rate slows, blood pressure drops, and breathing becomes steady and rhythmic. These physical changes feed back into the brain, reinforcing calm and stability. The body's stillness becomes the mind's stillness. The physiology of peace creates the psychology of peace. And in that stillness, consciousness rests like a flame protected from the wind. Ancient traditions understood this connection intuitively. Yogic teachings spoke of prana, the life force flowing through the body, mirrored by the flow of awareness. Taoist philosophy described sleep as the return of spirit to its source. In both, the act of rest was seen not as absence, but as communion, emerging with something larger, timeless, infinite. Modern science, though it speaks a different language, points toward the same truth, that rest is not nothingness, but participation in a deeper rhythm that sustains life itself. If you listen closely to your own experience of sleep, you can feel this rhythm. Just before you drift away, there is a moment of exquisite balance, a suspension where you are neither awake nor asleep, but both. Thought fades into sensation, sensation into silence. Awareness expands, then dissolves. It is the purest form of surrender, one we practice every night without fear. To close the eyes and release control is to trust in something larger than thought, a biological intelligence, yes, but also something ineffable, something that feels like peace. In this sense, sleep offers a spiritual lesson hidden within a biological process. The conscious mind, so obsessed with permanence and control, learns to let go. Each night it rehearses its own disappearance, only to return renewed. Perhaps that is why waking feels like rebirth, why morning light carries such quiet joy. The mind, having dissolved into the depths, returns lighter, clearer, more whole. The cycle of consciousness mirrors the cycle of life itself, emergence, dissolution, and renewal. And as you rest, somewhere within the depths of the brain, billions of neurons continue their gentle rhythm. Synapses strengthen or fade, memories consolidate, emotions settle, the machinery of being hums softly beneath the silence. You are not aware of it, yet it is happening, perfectly timed, perfectly balanced. Consciousness is not gone, it is simply dreaming in another language, one made of rhythm and chemistry, of silence and light. So as you listen, imagine your own mind in this state, the quiet corridors of thought dimly lit, the hum of neurons echoing like distant stars, the rhythm of breath guiding the tides of awareness. The conscious mind at rest is not asleep, it is transformed. It is the ocean between waves, the stillness between breaths, the pause between thoughts. It is where consciousness remembers what it truly is, vast, luminous, and free. Beneath the calm surface of sleep, deeper currents begin to stir. The conscious mind has fallen silent, but the subconscious, the vast hidden orchestra of thought, memory, and instinct, awakens. Here, beneath the threshold of awareness, the mind hums with quiet precision. It is a world without language, a realm where emotion speaks in color and memory moves like wind through water. This is the subconscious symphony, a landscape of mind so deep and intricate that even in waking life, we barely sense its presence. Yet it is always there, shaping dreams, guiding intuition, and weaving the fabric of who we are. The subconscious is not chaos. It is an order of a different kind. Every emotion unexpressed, every thought half forgotten, every experience unresolved settles here like sediment at the bottom of a great sea. During the day, we move above it, distracted by the surface, the noise of conversation, decision, survival. But at night, when the conscious mind retreats, this deeper sea begins to move. Waves of emotion rise and fall. Old memories drift upward, reshaped into symbols and stories. It is not random. It is healing. The mind is speaking to itself in its oldest language. Psychologists once called this the unconscious, a hidden theater of desires and fears. But neuroscience has revealed something more subtle. The brain never truly sleeps. Even when the self dissolves, networks of perception, memory, and emotion continue to operate in harmony. The subconscious is not a shadow realm. It is the foundation upon which consciousness stands. Without it, there would be no intuition, no creativity, no self. During sleep, this hidden mind begins its nightly work. Emotional circuits light up, processing the residue of waking life. The amygdala reviews the echoes of stress and joy. The hippocampus reshapes memories, smoothing rough edges, blending fragments into the tapestry of long-term understanding. This process is silent but profound. It is the reason a nightmare can transform into calm, why grief softens with rest, why clarity arrives after sleep. The subconscious, like a patient artist, revisits the canvas of experience and paints over the noise until harmony emerges. If you could see it, it might look like music, rhythmic pulses of electricity flowing through networks of neurons, melodies rising and fading across the cortex. Every note corresponds to emotion, to thought, to memory. Together, they form the Subconscious Symphony, a concert without audience, performed in total darkness, orchestrated by a mind dreaming itself into balance. There is mystery here that science can describe but not yet fully explain, for even as neurons fire and hormones shift, the experience of the subconscious remains ineffable. What does it feel like for the mind to heal itself? What does it mean for an emotion to resolve without words? We awaken each morning changed, lighter, calmer, more whole, but cannot recall the process. It is as if the subconscious prefers to work unseen, leaving only the afterglow of peace as proof of its labor. This hidden intelligence is not limited to emotion alone. Studies show that the sleeping mind continues to solve problems, discover patterns, even generate creative insight. The subconscious is a vast computational space, able to integrate information in ways that conscious thought cannot. A scientist may wake with a sudden realization, a writer with a line of perfect clarity, a musician with a melody that feels like it has always existed. These are not coincidences, they are the gifts of the subconscious, the residue of its nocturnal work. And yet, the subconscious is more than a processor of memory and thought. It is a guardian of truth. It holds the stories we do not tell ourselves, the emotions we hide from daylight. In dreams, these truths emerge disguised as symbols: a locked door, a falling staircase, a familiar face turned away. Each image is a fragment of the psyche speaking in metaphor. To listen to dreams is to listen to the subconscious trying to communicate, not with logic, but with feeling. The language of the night is not linear, but emotional, and in that language, everything has meaning. For centuries, mystics and psychologists alike have seen sleep as a bridge to this hidden world. Carl Jung called the subconscious a vast ocean beneath the small island of consciousness, filled with archetypes, the timeless patterns of human experience. The dream, he said, is a message from the deep, a whisper from the part of us that knows more than we admit. In this view, the subconscious is not merely a mechanism of the brain, it is the soul's language, the quiet intelligence that connects us to something greater, perhaps even collective. Modern science, cautious but curious, has begun to acknowledge the same possibility in its own terms. Studies of brain networks show that during sleep, the boundaries between sensory, emotional, and associative regions dissolve. The mind becomes a single integrated field, sharing information freely across its domains. This is the source of the dream's surreal fluidity. In the subconscious, everything connects to everything else. Time, space, identity, all are malleable. It is not chaos, it is pure potential, a space where consciousness explores itself without constraint. Think of the subconscious as a vast ecosystem. Every experience of your life, every joy, every loss, every face you have ever seen, exists somewhere within it, not as static memory, but as living energy. Sleep allows this ecosystem to rebalance. Some memories fade, others strengthen. Emotions find their rightful place. The result is harmony, a kind of psychological homeostasis that sustains the conscious mind through the day. It is easy to forget this harmony exists because we rarely perceive it directly. Yet its presence shapes every waking moment. The calm you feel after a good night's rest, the ease with which ideas flow, the quiet confidence that arises for no reason, all are traces of the subconscious symphony, the music that plays while you sleep. In a deeper sense, the subconscious may also hold the key to creativity and intuition. Many breakthroughs in art and science have emerged not from deliberate reasoning, but from moments of spontaneous clarity, solutions that appear out of nowhere. They do not come from nowhere, they come from the subconscious, from the part of the mind that continues to think and feel even when we believe we have stopped. Sleep is the bridge that allows this wisdom to surface. But there is another, more mysterious quality to the subconscious, its connection to collective experience. Some scientists and philosophers have speculated that consciousness may not be entirely individual. If awareness is a fundamental property of the universe, as some quantum theorists suggest, then perhaps the subconscious is the interface through which individual minds touch the greater whole. In dreams, where the barriers of identity dissolve, we may momentarily brush against this deeper unity, feeling ourselves as part of something vast and timeless. Whether this is poetic metaphor or scientific truth, no one yet knows. But the feeling is real, the sense that, in sleep, we return to a source larger than ourselves. The subconscious symphony, then, is not just a psychological process, it is an expression of the mystery of consciousness itself, a reminder that who we are extends beyond what we can think or name. Beneath every thought lies silence, beneath every emotion, stillness. In the quiet depths of night, that stillness rises and plays its eternal song, bringing order to the chaos, balance to the mind, and meaning to existence. And so, as you listen now, imagine your own subconscious as a vast night sky, each star a thought, each constellation a memory, each flicker a heartbeat of emotion. The music that moves between them is the rhythm of your inner life, endless, beautiful, unseen. You do not need to conduct it. You need only trust that it plays perfectly every night, whether you are aware of it or not. When morning comes, consciousness will rise again like the sun, illuminating the world of form and name. But beneath it, the symphony will continue, faint but eternal, shaping your perceptions, guiding your choices, and reminding you that awareness is never truly alone. The conscious mind is but a single instrument in an infinite orchestra, and sleep is the moment when it learns to listen again to the music of the whole. In the silent corridors of the mind, time begins to bend. As sleep deepens, the ordinary rhythm of seconds and minutes dissolves, replaced by something fluid, elastic, and strange. The brain, untethered from the steady pulse of the external world, begins to write its own clock, a clock made of waves, of memories, of dreams. In this nocturnal realm, a single heartbeat can stretch into an eternity, and an entire dream can unfold within the blink of an eye. Time, as we know it, ceases to exist. From a scientific view, this distortion begins with the brain's shifting activity. During wakefulness, our sense of time is governed by the predictable cycles of attention, heartbeat, and perception. But in sleep, those mechanisms change. The thalamus, the gatekeeper of sensory input, closes its doors, shutting out the signals of the waking world. The body's temperature drops, metabolism slows, and the brain's electrical patterns transform into the deep, rhythmic waves of non-REM sleep. The conscious experience of linear time fades away, and yet, in this darkness, something remarkable happens. The mind begins to travel, not through space, but through memory. Sleep is not absence, it is organization. Every night, the brain revisits the experiences of the day, replaying them, reshaping them, deciding what to keep and what to let go. The hippocampus, that ancient structure at the heart of memory, becomes a kind of librarian, sorting the endless stream of moments we live. Some memories are stored for the long term, others quietly erased. The process is delicate, precise, and absolutely vital. Without it, we could not think clearly, could not learn, could not remember who we are. In the stillness of the night, the sleeping brain hums with purpose. Neurons fire in repeating bursts, echoing the patterns of waking life. Scientists have discovered that these bursts, known as sleep spindles and slow waves, are not random noise. They are the language of memory consolidation. Each wave corresponds to a conversation between the hippocampus and the neocortex, the deep memory storehouse of the brain. The hippocampus replays fragments of recent experience, like clips from a film, while the neocortex listens, recording the essence of each moment into the permanent archive of identity. This is how we learn. This is how we become. Every night, while consciousness drifts, the brain writes our story anew. But memory is not simply stored, it is rewritten. The act of remembering is never neutral, it is creative. In sleep, the brain does not merely preserve the past, it edits it, blending old experiences with new understanding. Dreams are one expression of this process. They are the mind's way of experimenting with memory, combining symbols and sensations in search of meaning. This is why dreams often feel timeless, why moments from childhood mingle with fragments of yesterday. In the dream world, memory is liquid, flowing freely between eras, people, and places. This flexibility is not a flaw, it is a gift. It allows the brain to find connections that waking thought might overlook. It is in this fluid network that insight is born. The brain, freed from the constraints of linear time, can see the pattern behind the pattern, the story beneath the story. A problem unsolved by day may find its answer in the non-linear logic of the night. The subconscious mind, unbound by clocks, works with the raw material of intuition, and still deeper, the sense of time itself continues to fade. In the deepest stages of sleep, slow wave and REM, the networks that generate self-awareness grow quiet. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for logic and narrative, releases its hold. The brain's temporal structure dissolves into waves of pure rhythm. In this state, we do not experience time passing, we experience being timeless. Some traditions have long described this as a kind of death and rebirth, the daily cycle of consciousness dissolving and re-emerging. From the perspective of neuroscience, there is truth in this metaphor. Sleep is a controlled descent into the unconscious, a temporary suspension of the self, followed by renewal. Every morning we awaken as if reborn, our memories integrated, our emotions reset, our sense of identity restored. The past has been reorganized, the future prepared. The connection between sleep and time runs deeper than the mind alone. Our bodies too live within rhythms, circadian cycles synchronized to the turning of the earth. These cycles govern everything from hormone release to mood to alertness. The master clock, located deep in the brain's hypothalamus, aligns us with the light of day and the darkness of night. But this clock is more than biological. It is existential. It reminds us that time is not only a measure of duration, but a rhythm of life, a dance between light and shadow, wakefulness and rest. When this rhythm falters, through stress, technology, or the sleeplessness of modern life, we feel it not just as fatigue, but as disorientation. We lose our sense of balance, our sense of continuity. To sleep is to return to rhythm, to reconnect with the ancient pulse of the Earth's rotation. It is the body's way of remembering that time is not an enemy, but a companion. But perhaps the most haunting question remains, what is time, truly, within the mind? Physics tells us that time is a dimension, a measure of change. But within consciousness, time is subjective, elastic, deeply tied to awareness. In dreams, we might live entire lifetimes in moments. In deep meditation, seconds can feel like eternity. When we are awake and engaged, hours vanish. When we are anxious, minutes crawl. Time, it seems, is not fixed but fluid, an emergent property of perception itself. This idea echoes even within quantum physics, where the flow of time appears less certain. Some physicists propose that time may not exist at the most fundamental level, that it arises only when particles interact, when consciousness observes. If that is true, then perhaps the strange distortions of time we experience in sleep are not merely neurological quirks, but glimpses of a deeper truth, that time is not absolute, but a construction of awareness. In the still night, when consciousness recedes and the brain drifts into patterns beyond comprehension, we may be touching that truth. Experiencing for a few hours a form of existence where past and future lose their distinction. The dreamer floats in eternity, unbound by sequence, untethered from history. It is a state both ancient and profound, reminding us that time, like consciousness, is not a thing but a relationship, a dance between observer and observed. When you awaken from such sleep, you may feel a lingering sense of wonder, the faint memory of something vast and wordless. It is the echo of the mind's encounter with timelessness. The memories have been rewritten, the emotions balanced, the brain renewed. You are once again anchored in linear time, but somewhere within, the part of you that traveled beyond still hums softly. It is the whisper of eternity carried back into morning. Time, memory, sleep, three faces of one mystery. They are not separate forces, but threads of the same tapestry. Time gives life its motion, memory gives it meaning, and sleep renews both. Without sleep, time would blur into chaos. Without memory, time would lose its story. And without time, consciousness itself would have no stage upon which to unfold. And so, each night, we surrender ourselves to the great rhythm. We let time dissolve so that memory can be restored. We drift beyond ourselves so that the self can be reborn. In doing so, we participate in the deepest ritual of existence, the renewal of awareness through the stillness of sleep. When you close your eyes tonight, know that you are not simply resting. You are entering the laboratory of the mind, where time is rewritten, memories are sculpted, and the consciousness that wakes in you tomorrow will not be the same as the one that drifted away. You are part of a cosmic rhythm, one heartbeat in the infinite flow of being. There is a delicate moment between waking and dreaming, a fleeting shimmer of awareness where two worlds touch. It is neither night nor day, neither conscious nor unconscious. It is the edge of awareness, the threshold where the mind becomes both observer and creator, where thought turns to image and image dissolves into thought. In this fragile state, the boundaries that separate reality from imagination begin to fade. The body lies still, wrapped in silence, but the mind hovers in a space between control and surrender. You are aware, yet drifting, present, yet dissolving. The ancient Greeks called this moment hypnagogia, the descent into sleep, and hypnopompia, the return from it. In these liminal states, consciousness becomes translucent, and through it, we glimpse the machinery of the mind at work. When you close your eyes and begin to fall asleep, the brain does not simply shut down. It transitions through a symphony of states. Alpha waves, the rhythms of relaxed wakefulness, begin to fade, replaced by the slower theta waves of early sleep. The sensory gates close one by one. Sounds grow distant. The edges of your body soften. You are no longer fully in the world, yet not fully out of it. In this in-between place, the mind begins to dream before it has truly fallen asleep. Images flicker across the inner eye, faces, landscapes, fragments of thought, a voice, a memory, a flash of color. None of it coherent, yet all of it vivid. The brain, in its transition, momentarily lets go of order, allowing consciousness to drift in a sea of unfiltered perception. Scientists believe this is the stage where creativity thrives. In the hypnagogic state, the rational mind loosens its grip, and unexpected associations emerge. Ideas once hidden beneath logic rise into view, like constellations appearing in twilight. Many of history's greatest thinkers have lingered on this threshold. Thomas Edison held metal balls in his hands as he dozed in a chair. When they fell and clattered to the floor, the noise woke him at the precise edge of sleep. Salvador Dali did the same, using the moment between dreaming and waking to capture surreal images before they vanished. Both men knew this truth, that the edge of awareness is a gateway to insight, a place where the subconscious and conscious minds overlap, sharing their secrets in whispers. But the edge of awareness is not always gentle. Sometimes as we drift toward sleep, our minds awaken within the body's paralysis. The body, protecting itself from acting out dreams, shuts down movement, but the mind, momentarily conscious, feels trapped within stillness. This phenomenon, known as sleep paralysis, can be terrifying, a vivid encounter with the power of the dreaming brain. In such moments, ancient myths found their origin: night demons, shadow figures, unseen presences pressing on the chest. Today, neuroscience explains them as the dream state overlapping with wakefulness, the mind projecting its internal imagery onto a body that cannot yet move. Even so, the experience feels profoundly real. It reminds us that consciousness, though fragile, can illuminate even the deepest corners of sleep. And then there are those who do not simply drift into dreams, but awaken within them. This is lucid dreaming, the art of becoming aware that one is dreaming while still inside the dream. It is one of the most mysterious states of human consciousness, a bridge between the waking mind and the dream world. For centuries, mystics and scientists alike have sought to understand this phenomenon, and modern research now reveals what happens within the brain when lucidity arises. During a lucid dream, The prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for self-reflection and decision-making, reactivates within REM sleep. In ordinary dreaming, this region is quiet, allowing the dream to unfold without control. But in lucidity, a flicker of awareness returns. The dreamer becomes the narrator, the architect, the participant. They can shape the dream's landscape, speak with its characters, even fly across imagined skies. Yet beneath the wonder lies something profound, a glimpse into the mechanics of consciousness itself. What does it mean to be aware within an illusion? To realize that the world around you, though vivid, is made of mind. Lucid dreaming forces us to confront this question directly. Inside the dream, everything feels real, texture, sound, emotion, yet the dreamer knows it is projection. This paradox mirrors the deeper questions of philosophy and physics alike. What is reality, and to what extent is it constructed by observation? Some scientists suggest that lucid dreaming may offer a model for consciousness, a state where awareness reflects upon itself. The brain, observing its own creations, learns that it is both the author and the witness of its experience. In this way, lucidity becomes not just a skill, but a metaphor for enlightenment, the recognition that all experience arises within the field of awareness, whether in dreams or waking life. At the edge of awareness, the mind becomes fluid. The sense of I expands and contracts. One moment you are the dreamer, the next you are the dream itself. This dissolution of identity is not confusion, it is freedom. It reveals that consciousness is not confined to the boundaries of self. It can take any form, occupy any perspective, inhabit any story. When you awaken, that flexibility lingers as intuition, as empathy, as creativity. To dwell in this edge state is to glimpse the nature of consciousness as a continuum. It is not a switch that turns on or off, but a gradient of awareness flowing from waking through dreaming, through deep sleep, and back again. Even in the depths of unconsciousness, a spark remains, the faint hum of existence itself. Neuroscience calls it the default mode network, the system of self-referential thought that flickers even at rest. Mystics might call it the soul. Whatever its name, it is the thread that binds all states together, the unbroken presence beneath the ever-changing forms of awareness. As the dream deepens, lucidity often fades. The prefrontal cortex quiets once more. The dreamer surrenders to the current, the narrative resumes, and the illusion becomes whole again. But the experience leaves a trace, a subtle knowing that reality, whether dream or waking, is constructed moment by moment. This awareness can transform how we live. It teaches us to observe our thoughts without becoming them, to see waking life itself as a lucid dream shaped by perception, belief, and intention. At the very edge of awareness, where waking meets dreaming, science meets philosophy, and the physical meets the mystical, it is here that we glimpse the unity behind all experience. Consciousness, in its purest form, is awareness of awareness, a mirror reflecting itself in infinite regress. To stand at this threshold is to feel the mystery of existence directly, to know, if only for a moment, that the universe itself may be dreaming through us. When the dreamer finally awakens, morning light filtering through the eyelids, there is often a lingering sense of wonder, as if something vast has been seen but cannot be spoken. The body stretches, breath returns, the mind anchors once more in the flow of time. Yet somewhere inside, the memory of that edge remains, the awareness that sleep and wakefulness are not opposites, but partners in an endless cycle. One creates the other, one reveals the other, and so each night we stand again at the edge of awareness. We step across the line between control and surrender, between thought and silence. And in doing so, we return to the essence of what it means to be conscious, to experience, to witness, to dream. Somewhere between the quiet hum of neurons and the vast silence of the cosmos lies a question that haunts both science and philosophy. What is consciousness made of? We can map the brain, measure its rhythms, even trace the firing of individual neurons, yet the experience of awareness itself remains beyond grasp. It is the one phenomenon we know most intimately and yet understand least. And so, the search continues, stretching beyond biology, beyond psychology, into the strange world of quantum physics. For centuries, consciousness was seen as the exclusive domain of biology, a byproduct of the brain's complexity. But as our understanding of the quantum world deepened, a new possibility emerged, that consciousness may not simply arise from matter, but may be woven into the very fabric of reality itself. In the quantum realm, the rules that govern the universe begin to break down. Particles exist in multiple states at once. They can be entangled across vast distances, responding to one another instantaneously, as if connected by an invisible thread. And, most perplexing of all, the act of observation seems to shape reality itself. Before measurement, a particle exists as a cloud of probabilities, a wave of potential. Only when it is observed does it collapse into a definite state. This strange behavior led physicists like Niels Bohr and Erwin Schrödinger to ask, what role does the observer play in the unfolding of reality? It is here that the paths of physics and consciousness begin to converge. If observation alters reality, then what is the nature of the observer? Is consciousness merely a passive witness, or is it an active participant in creation? Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that consciousness and matter are entangled in ways we have yet to understand, that the universe is not a stage upon which awareness appears, but a process that awareness itself helps to bring forth. This idea, though controversial, has captivated thinkers across disciplines. Sir Roger Penrose, a physicist known for his work on black holes and space-time, proposed that the mystery of consciousness might be rooted in quantum phenomena within the brain. Alongside anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, he developed the orchestrated objective reduction theory, suggesting that microtubules, tiny structures within neurons, might host quantum processes that give rise to awareness. In this view, the mind is not simply the sum of neural activity, but a quantum field interacting with the universe on a fundamental level. Whether or not this theory proves true, it points to something profound, that consciousness may not be confined to the brain alone. Perhaps awareness is not produced by the brain, but channeled through it, the way a radio receives signals from an unseen source. The brain, then, would be both receiver and interpreter, tuning into the frequency of consciousness that pervades the cosmos. The implications are staggering. If consciousness is fundamental, not emergent, then it is as real and essential as space, time, or energy. The universe itself would be alive with awareness, every atom, every star, every living being a note in the cosmic symphony of perception. In this view, sleep, dreams, and even death are not departures from consciousness, but transformations within it, shifts in the frequency of awareness itself. Modern physics, cautious but curious, continues to explore these ideas at the edges of theory. Quantum biology has revealed that certain processes in living systems, like photosynthesis, bird navigation, and even DNA replication, may rely on quantum effects. If life already harnesses the strangeness of the quantum world, could consciousness do the same? Could our thoughts, our dreams, our very sense of being, arise from quantum coherence flickering within the neural web? And if so, what does this say about the nature of sleep, that nightly journey inward, where consciousness folds in upon itself? Perhaps when we sleep, the brain's electromagnetic noise quiets, allowing the deeper quantum harmonies of awareness to resonate more freely. The boundaries of self dissolve, and the observer merges with the observed. In that stillness, perhaps we return to the universal field from which all consciousness arises, the infinite awareness that underlies everything. It is a poetic thought, yet one that resonates across cultures and centuries. The mystics of the East have long described reality as a dream within a dream, Maya, the illusion of separation. They speak of consciousness as the ground of being, of the self as an expression of the infinite. Quantum theory, in its strange and reluctant way, echoes this intuition, that the universe is not a clockwork machine, but a living process in which observation and creation are inseparable. To sleep, then, might not merely be a biological necessity, but a return to origin. In deep sleep, when the self dissolves and thought ceases, we experience a state beyond duality. No observer, no observed, only stillness. It is, in some sense, a return to the quantum ground, the pure potentiality from which both waking and dreaming consciousness arise. When we awaken, awareness reassembles itself into the familiar story of I, but something from that stillness remains, a trace of unity, a quiet knowing that the boundaries of self are not absolute. In the laboratory of the mind, this interplay between physics and consciousness continues to inspire debate. Critics remind us that the quantum scale is unimaginably small, far below the warm, wet world of the human brain. Decoherence, they argue, would destroy any quantum effects before they could influence thought. Yet the mystery persists, because no purely classical explanation of consciousness has yet been found. And so, the question remains open, suspended between science and philosophy, between mathematics and mystery. Perhaps, in the end, the truth lies not in choosing one view or another, but in embracing both, the measurable and the ineffable, the neural and the quantum. The universe, after all, may not distinguish between matter and mind as neatly as we do. Consciousness may be the lens through which reality perceives itself. When you gaze at the night sky, when you drift into dreams, when you awaken to the sound of your own breath, you are witnessing the same phenomenon, awareness reflecting upon its own creation. The stars that shine above you are born from the same elements that pulse within your brain. The same laws that govern their light govern the firing of your neurons. Perhaps consciousness is the bridge that unites them, the spark that allows the universe to know itself. In that sense, you are not separate from the cosmos that surrounds you. You are its continuation, its expression, its dream. When you close your eyes and fall asleep, the universe is not leaving you. It is turning inward, through you, and when you awaken, it is awakening with you, once again aware of itself. When the mind dreams, it becomes the universe. Inside the stillness of sleep, without eyes, without sound, without the body's senses, an entire world unfolds, vivid, tangible, and real. You walk across landscapes that do not exist. You speak to people who are not there. You feel the warmth of sunlight that never touches your skin. And yet, in that moment, it all feels true. What then is reality? The line between dream and waking life has always been thinner than it appears. Both are built from perception, electrical signals interpreted by the brain, filtered through memory and emotion. In waking life, those signals come from the external world. In dreams, they arise from within. But to the mind, there is no difference. The same neural circuits that create reality by day are active again at night, painting with the same colors, shaping the same sensations. The dream feels real because, neurologically, it is. In this sense, reality itself is a kind of dream, a shared one, grounded in collective experience. Our brains do not see the world directly. They reconstruct it from patterns of light, sound, and touch, assembling a model of existence from within. What we call reality is an internal simulation, a seamless hallucination that happens to agree from person to person. The dream simply removes the external reference. It reveals the mechanism of perception stripped bare, showing us how fragile the distinction truly is. In dreams, time bends, logic dissolves, identity melts. The ordinary laws of physics no longer hold, yet we accept it effortlessly. We float, we fly, we breathe underwater, and never question how. The dreaming mind does not ask why, it only experiences. It is pure consciousness, free from the need to explain itself. In that freedom, we glimpse the truth, that experience itself is the essence of being. Consider the vividness of a dream, the detail of faces, the sound of wind, the weight of emotion. The brain, while disconnected from the senses, recreates these sensations from memory, imagination, and emotion. Entire worlds arise out of nothing, sustained only by awareness. To awaken from such a world is to realize how convincingly the mind can create reality. It reminds us that waking life, too, is filtered, constructed, interpreted, that our perception of the world is less about what is and more about what the mind makes of it. Philosophers have long wrestled with this question. Plato spoke of shadows on the wall, illusions mistaken for truth. Descartes doubted the evidence of the senses, wondering if life itself might be a dream. And in modern physics, the observer problem suggests that reality, at its deepest level, depends on observation. The universe becomes definite only when consciousness looks upon it. What we perceive, then, may not be the world as it is, but the world as it becomes through our awareness. Dreams give us a mirror to this mystery. They show that reality can exist without matter, without time, without space, so long as there is consciousness to perceive it. A dream mountain feels solid, a dream tear feels wet, a dream conversation moves the heart. None of it exists, yet all of it is real within the experience of the dreamer. If consciousness alone can create such reality, then perhaps reality itself is a dream shared by all beings, a vast field of awareness imagining itself into form. Neuroscience can describe the mechanics of dreaming, how the brainstem activates REM sleep, how the visual cortex lights up, how emotional centers like the amygdala surge with activity. But the deeper question remains untouched. Why do dreams feel real? Why does the brain, instead of resting, create entire worlds each night? Perhaps the answer lies not in biology, but in meaning. Dreams are not merely byproducts of memory. They are the psyche's way of exploring itself. The dream is the mind turned inward, simulating existence in order to understand it. There are moments in dreams, moments of startling clarity, when awareness flickers and the dreamer realizes, this is not real, and yet it is happening. In that instant, we stand on the edge of understanding, for what is waking life, if not another level of dream, more consistent, more shared, yet still arising within the same awareness? To awaken from a dream is to realize the illusion of that world. To awaken within waking life is to glimpse the illusion of this one. Quantum physics, with its strange dualities, offers a reflection of this idea. A particle can be both wave and point. Reality exists as potential until observed. In dreams, too, potential becomes experience the moment it is noticed. A room appears because you look for it. A voice speaks because you expect it. The dream constructs itself in real time, just as the quantum world seems to crystallize in response to observation. Consciousness and creation are intertwined, two faces of the same mystery. And yet, there is tenderness in the dream world, a gentle poetry that science alone cannot capture. In dreams, we meet the lost, revisit the past, resolve what waking life could not. The boundaries of time and distance fall away. Perhaps this is why dreams matter. They are not bound by the rules of physics, but by the logic of the heart. They remind us that reality is not just matter and energy, but meaning and connection. To dream is to remember that we are more than the sum of our neurons. It is to touch the dimension of consciousness that exists beyond waking logic, a place where imagination and memory merge, where the soul rehearses the art of creation. In that sense, every dream is a miniature universe, born and dissolved within the span of a night. The dreamer becomes creator, the observer becomes the world, and all distinctions fade into unity. When you awaken from a dream, it fades like mist in morning light. The world of form reasserts itself. Gravity returns, the laws of cause and effect resume their rule. Yet the residue of the dream lingers, an image, a feeling, a symbol. Sometimes it stays for years, shaping thought and emotion in ways unseen. The dream, though gone, continues to ripple through the waking mind, like echoes in the deep chambers of memory. Dreams may be temporary, but their lessons are eternal. They teach us that reality is flexible, that perception is creative, that the universe itself might be a canvas of consciousness painting itself into being. The waking world, too, may be such a canvas. Vast, coherent, shared, but no less mysterious. As you listen now, imagine the universe itself as a great dream, galaxies as thoughts, stars as moments of awareness, black holes as the pauses between breaths. Within this infinite dream, each consciousness, each sleeping mind, is a reflection of the whole. When we sleep, we return to that source, to the cosmic mind dreaming through us all. And so, the nature of reality may not be found in the separation between dream and waking, but in the unity beneath both. Consciousness is the constant, the light that shines through every dream, every world, every thought. Whether you are awake or asleep, that light remains. It is what you are before the story begins and after it ends, the silent witness, eternal, unchanging, aware. When morning comes and the last fragments of dream dissolve into day, remember this: what is real is not the world that appears, but the awareness that sees it. The dream fades, the stars fade, even the self fades. But awareness endures, vast, still, infinite. That is the ground of all reality. The first light of dawn touches the edge of your consciousness. Somewhere between sleep and waking there is a quiet pause, a moment when you are neither the dreamer nor the self, but something vast and formless watching both unfold. In that fragile instant, you awaken not just into the world, but into awareness itself. Each morning, the universe begins again through you. The same mind that wandered the infinite landscapes of dreams opens its eyes to a new day, carrying fragments of those invisible worlds. The neurons re-engage, the senses return, and the theater of reality flickers back to life. But beneath the routine hum of thought and motion, something deeper lingers, the silent rhythm of consciousness, unchanged by sleep or waking. Science tells us that waking is simply the reversal of sleep's neural descent. The brain reactivates the thalamus, reconnects sensory pathways, synchronizes oscillations between hemispheres. Chemistry shifts, cortisol rises, serotonin flows, the mind resurfaces. Yet the experience of awakening is far more than biology. It is a resurrection of identity, a reassembly of self. You are not simply opening your eyes, you are becoming again. Consciousness, in its endless dance, moves through these cycles like tides. Wakefulness, dreaming, deep sleep, each is a phase of the same ocean, each reflecting the same light. What changes is the surface, not the depths. In sleep, the waves grow still. In dreams, they shimmer with color. In waking, they rise again, sparkling with experience. But always beneath, there is one water, awareness itself. This awareness has no shape, no boundary, no age. It is not bound to the neurons that carry it, nor to the body that holds it. It is the open field within which every thought, every breath, every heartbeat appears. The physicist may call it energy, the mystic may call it spirit, the neuroscientist may call it consciousness. The names differ, but the essence is the same, the silent witness behind all experience. To awaken fully is to glimpse this truth. It is to see that the same awareness that dreamed the night's worlds is the same that now looks out upon the morning sky. There is no real division between the two, only a change of scenery, a shift in focus. The dream was a universe made of mind, the waking world is a universe made of matter. Yet both arise from the same source, and to that source both will return. In the quiet moments of morning, before the noise of the day begins, you can feel it. That stillness between thoughts, that spaciousness behind the eyes. It is the echo of the deep sleep you came from, the peace that underlies all motion. If you listen closely, you can hear it hum beneath the surface of everything. The soundless vibration of being. The science of sleep has mapped its stages, its waves, its rhythms. It can tell us when we dream, how we restore, why we must rest. But it cannot yet tell us why it feels so mysterious, why the simple act of waking up can move the heart. For that belongs to something science cannot measure. The wonder of awareness itself, the unquantifiable fact that we are here at all. Across billions of years, the universe has been unfolding toward this moment. Matter organizing itself into life, life into mind, mind into consciousness. And now, through you, the universe is aware of its own existence. The atoms that once burned in the hearts of stars now look back upon the sky and say, "I am awake." Perhaps that is the ultimate purpose of sleep, not merely to rest the body, but to remind consciousness of its origin. Each night we dissolve into stillness, into the same silence from which all creation arises. And each morning we emerge again, carrying a trace of that infinite peace within us. Sleep and awakening are not opposites. They are the inhale and exhale of being itself. When we sleep, the universe breathes in, drawing awareness back into its source. When we awaken, it breathes out, expressing itself through sight, sound, touch, thought, and feeling. And through this endless rhythm, existence continues, a cosmic heartbeat pulsing across dimensions of time. To awaken, truly, is to recognize this rhythm within you, to see that you are not just a person waking from a dream, but awareness itself awakening through form. The same awareness that watches galaxies swirl and stars ignite also watches your thoughts rise and fall. The same silence that fills the void between stars fills the quiet of your mind. You are not in the universe, you are the universe, observing itself through a human lens. As you move through the day, fragments of dreams still shimmer at the edge of thought, gentle reminders of the vastness within. When you close your eyes again tonight, you will return to that place, not as a traveler, but as the dream itself. The cycles of sleep and waking will continue, as they always have, but your awareness will deepen. You will know that behind every dream, behind every thought, behind every breath, there is only this: consciousness, eternal and free. In the end, sleep and waking are but metaphors for something greater, the ebb and flow of awareness as it explores itself. To fall asleep is to return home. To awaken is to begin anew. Both are acts of love, the universe knowing itself through the miracle of being. So when the day ends, and you once again feel the gentle pull of sleep, do not think of it as an ending, but as a return to the source, to stillness, to the boundless consciousness that holds all worlds, all dreams, all stars. And when morning comes, know that you are awakening not just into another day, but into the ongoing wonder existence itself. Because you are not just the dreamer, you are not just the sleeper, you are not just the mind or the body, you are the awareness in which all of it appears, timeless, luminous, infinite. You are the quiet witness of the cosmos, breathing, dreaming, awakening, again and again forever. And as the sun rises and the world begins to move once more, take one slow breath, and remember, this is consciousness, seeing itself through your eyes. This is the great awakening.